Hey gang, what is up? Welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Haley Moon and I make videos all about spirituality where I try to tie in psychology and science as well. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell as well. With that said, today's video is going to be all about how you can sense people's energy. I'm actually so excited to make this video because I feel like it's such a turning point for new practitioners when they're starting to be able to, again, feel tangible results and starting to get a really good sensation of the things that they can do and starting to get a lot of confidence in their abilities. So moving straight into it, I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of a test this video. I'm going to be talking about different types of energy, but I'm going to get you guys to focus on the four main elements. And I'm going to let you guys try to guess what my main element is. So throughout this video, as I'm describing it, I want you to try to get a sense of the vibe I put off, and I'll give you techniques on how to do that. And at the end of the video, I will reveal to you what my main element is, and you can compare kind of your thoughts with what is accurate. And again, don't feel bad. This is all for fun. If you're not correct in your guess, that's totally fine as well. As with anything, this is all just a practice, and it's a way for you to get more in tune with your intuition. And that is my goal here, is to help you guys do that. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about energy signatures, and I did mention this in my remote viewing video as well if you haven't seen that. Essentially, an energy signature is exactly what it sounds like. It's the energetic signature of something, and everything has one. Think of it this way: when you physically see something, the space that it's taking up, that would be its physical signature. So if you see a table, you can physically see where it is, but you can comprehend the form that it's taking and the area that it is occupying. That is its physical signature, is that space. Whereas on an energetic level, it's the exact same thing. Everything is built off of energy, and I don't mean that in a hippy-dippy kind of way, although I am a rather hippy-dippy kind of person, but I mean that in a very literal scientific way. Like, everything is composed of vibrating atoms that have quarks, which have properties, and from that it is constantly moving. You might remember learning this a little bit when you were in probably grades 6 to 8, that nothing is actually touching. It's like particles that are vibrating, so you can't actually touch, but it's so close that our eyes can't perceive it. Wild to think about, but yes, it's essentially very similar to this, that everything is composed of energy. Everything we perceive, that's energy. And much like they have a physical signature, which is the space they take up, they also have an energetic one. And what you can do is train yourself to be a little bit more in tune with that energetic signature. And this is the same, think of spatial awareness as the physical muscle, and then energy sensing as the energetic muscle. Some people are better at understanding where things are when they can't physically see them. They just have that innate sense to them. And other people are less intuitively good at that. And again, it's something you can learn by just being more aware. It's the exact same thing on a mental, spiritual level. So with that, our energetic signatures are built up of all of the different energies that we compose. We as humans like to be able to conceptualize things, so we love to put names to these. This is where the concept of chakras comes from. This is where the concept of elemental energy comes from, emotional energy. It's all really the same. So if you think about it, say like sadness. That's an emotion, but it's also an energy that you're putting off. And we as humans, to be able to understand that in the way that our brains physically perceive information, we have put that into something we call sadness. If you're interested in being able to sense people's energy, you're looking to enhance yourself spiritually and self-developmentally, you're just trying to grow in that way, I recommend starting off with a broader category. I'm not trying to say that chakras aren't real, but I'm saying that they're essentially a label we've put onto a type of energy to help us understand it better. That energy would be there whether you called it a chakra or not, whether you didn't want to believe that they existed. They're essentially a depiction. They're a way for us to conceptualize it. So the types of energy I'm going to be going into today are going to be the elemental energy. And that means that for you guys, your little test that I mentioned at the beginning of this video is going to be to try to guess what my main element is. And this does fall into astrology a little bit. If that's not your cup of tea, again, that's totally fine. We're all made up of these different energies, so you don't need to look at it from a very concrete kind of way. But for those of you who are interested in astrology, that will help you, because you'll be able to validate exactly which elements you have, and maybe in your friends and family be able to see those traits coming out. So I'm going to be getting into the four different main elements and then describing a little bit what they're like. We're going to start off with fire. So fire, as you can imagine, is very bold. It's very like in your face, aggressive, it's there, it's taking notice, it needs your attention, and it is fast moving, it is rapid and a little bit unpredictable. People who are very fiery can be very determined, very quick to act. Sometimes they can be a little bit aggressive or loud, or even if they aren't loud people, they can have a very loud energy to them. You know those people that walk into a room and you know that they're there, they made their presence known without necessarily saying anything? That is fire energy. The next one I'll talk about is water. Water is a lot more emotional and very smooth and very more like go with the flow, kind of like what you would expect water to be. It's very persistent. If you think of waves, how they like come onto the shore and they go back, and they're very strong. It's very definitive, but it's also very methodical, if you will. So water energy in people is also experienced in a very similar way. They're generally a little bit more go with the flow, they'll kind of let things happen. You come off a little bit more emotional in a lot of ways, but a lot of the time there's more processing. You see very thoughtful people, deep philosophical conversations come out of that water energy. The next one I'm going to be talking about is Earth. So Earth is very strong and very stable. I think we're standing on Earth right now. She can take care of us. So going into that and the way that it shows itself in a human being, that gives you that very stern, very headstrong and kind of like confident sort of energy. It isn't super brash or anything like that, but it's very just mature, I want to say. With Earth energy, you get that very, like a lot of determination and a lot of not wanting to change the course of action. So it's kind of like, this is the direction we're going. And then if the decision is changed, it takes a very long time. And then once it's changed, that's the way that it is. And a lot of really grounded kind of energy coming up from it. Moving into our last main element, we have air. Air is very unpredictable. It's very like, go with the wind. We're gonna go here, we're gonna go there. I don't know, kind of wishy-washy in that way, and very like up in the clouds, very thoughtful. So we get a lot of dreamers coming out of this. Similar to water, but a little bit more flighty, I want to say. So with a little bit less force coming behind it. Because of this, with air signs, we get a lot of bright ideas, innovation. A lot of the time when you think of entrepreneurs or you think of somebody trying to develop something, there's like 200 ideas that get narrowed down into 5. And that's that air energy coming in, being like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, I can't do that with this. Okay, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then you end up with the final product out of all of that kind of up in the airiness. It's so prone to changing and just being really okay with that change. So it's like you're walking down the street and you decide, now I want to go the other way, and you just turn around and keep going. That is air energy in an essence. So I've given you guys a rundown of the 4 main elements. If you want me to go more in depth in this in the future, I can make a video strictly just talking about the 4 elements and the way they might present. And as well, I'll leave some more resources down below if you want to continue to read further. So for those of you who are guessing, finalize your answers in your head, put a comment below. What do you think? What do you think? So my main element is actually Earth. I have a lot of Earth going on my chart. My ascendant is Virgo, my moon is Taurus. I do want to add my sun sign is Leo. So I can come off very fiery, and I'd imagine on YouTube especially I would come off very fiery. So this is my outer personality that you guys are seeing. So if you guessed fire, you're not totally off or anything like that. You definitely did pick up some good things. And if you guys are totally off base, don't worry about that either. Again, this is all learning and you're getting in tune with feeling off the different energies. With that said, now that you know that Earth is my primary element, and the primary elemental energy that I give off, feel free to pay a little bit more attention when I'm speaking and the way that I compose myself. And you can maybe pick up on some of those tendencies coming off from me, and maybe see if you can go through and pick out what parts of me are being fiery, what parts of me are being earthy, anything like that. I did promise you guys I'd be getting into some ways that you can practice sensing energy out and about in your life after watching this video. So as I said, we're going to stick to the 4 main elements. In the future, I'm more than happy to kind of delve deeper. We can talk about chakra energy or different types of energies that you can pick up on, but this is a great starting point for everybody. The best way to start trying to get in tune with sensing different energies and getting used to how you interpret them is definitely by starting with people that you already know. So this is easy. You can kind of reverse engineer it. And what I mean by that is by taking somebody you already know in your life and trying to deduce what elements kind of make them up. And then from there, once you already know that, be able to see in what ways, like what kind of a vibe that gives off, and in what ways you're kind of interpreting that. Again, this can be kind of tricky. Say in my example, Earth is my dominant element, even though my sun is a fire sign. So keep that in mind, especially if you're into astrology and say you know family members or close friends' times of birth, and you can look at their birth chart and see their primary elements. That can be fantastic because you can look and say, oh, you know, my friend Brittany, she's all air. And you can see, you know, in what ways she gives off that air and the way that her energy feels to you. And then maybe you'll go out to the grocery store and you'll meet someone and be like, she reminds me of Brittany a little bit. And that might be that air energy, but you just never really knew how to put your finger on to exactly what it was. So it's really just through practice. You learn to get used to them, and you're essentially teaching your energetic palette to adjust to these new flavors and be able to identify them. If you think of a chef, I don't know if you ever watched like cooking shows or something, But sometimes I'll eat soup and be like, like I taste parsley and there's a little bit of fennel in here and there's 3 cracks of black pepper and I think there's salmon caught on the East Coast and it's just way beyond anything. Like I'm just eating it and I'm like, yo, it's fish. This is essentially the same thing with energy. The flavors are there, you're just not used to tasting them or sensing them. So it's just a matter of doing that. And then as well, another really interesting thing that I used to do when I was learning how to sense energy, and this is less about defining what type of energy it is, but more about just sensing energy as a whole, is anytime I go into a store, start with small stores. Next time you go to get gas or go into a convenience store, assuming you can't see in, I would try to just feel who was in the store. I try to like get a vibe of, I started off just how many people. Say like, okay, I feel 4 people or whatever. And then I'd go into the store and see if that was accurate. Again, at the beginning, I wasn't very good at that, but over time I progressively got better. I got more in tune with kind of sensing energy and just sensing where energy was, even if I wasn't going that in depth. And then from there, you can continue that further. Try to tell a little bit about the people. And then from there, you can hopefully start to kind of get more defining characteristics. Or like, oh, there's some earthy energy in there and there's some fiery energy in there. And maybe you'll go in and see these people, and once you're used to sensing those kind of vibes, you'll be able to validate to yourself and be like, yep, exactly what I thought. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight. Thank you so much for staying tuned all the way to the very end. Once again, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell so that you know when I'm coming here. Comment down below if you guessed the correct element as my main one. I'm very excited to hear your guys' results, and stay tuned for more spiritual related content. Take care, you guys.